Hey guys, in this video, we'll be solving the valid parenthesis problem on LeetCode. It is of easy difficulty, and let's go over the problem statement first. So in this problem, we are given a string which contains a certain characters which are only different types of brackets. So we'll not have any other type of string. So you can imagine that any string that's part of this S parameter will only be either of this six values. Okay, and then the the idea of this problem is to determine whether the string S has a valid parenthesis or not. To determine if it's a valid parenthesis or not, we are given a set of rules. So basically what the rule says is uh, open brackets must be closed by the same type of brackets. So in this case, the open brackets are this open circular bracket, open flower bracket, and the open square bracket. Similarly, closing circular bracket, closing flower bracket, and the closing square bracket are the closing brackets. And then open brackets must be closed in the correct order. So the first thing is they must be closed by the same type. Second thing is they must be closed in the correct order. And then every closed bracket has a corresponding open bracket of the same type. So these are the three rules. So there is a every closing bracket must be closed by the same type of bracket. That's one. The order is also important. And the third one is they'll have a corresponding closing bracket of same type. Now I have put some use cases here or test cases. These test cases, by going over it, we can understand what is a valid parenthesis string and what is not. So in the first example, we have an opening circular bracket and then a closing circular bracket, which is true. Uh, this is valid because it adheres to all the three rules that we have, right? Because it is closed by the same type of opening bracket, and it is in order. Opening bracket comes before the closing bracket, and it has a corresponding type, corresponding closing bracket. So all the three uh, uh, rules are valid. So it has passed the test. And the second thing that we can do, the second test case is we have a close opening and closing circular brackets, opening and closing square brackets, opening and closing flower brackets. This is also true. In this case, this is false because it has an opening circular bracket and a closing square bracket. Now I have added an extra test case here, which is I have an opening circular bracket, and then I have an opening square bracket, and then I have an opening flower bracket. So this part till here, it's still valid as long as we have closing brackets in the same order. That means that is a reverse order of the opening brackets, right? So since the innermost opening bracket is a flower bracket, we need to immediately close that first in that or particular order. And then the next outermost bracket is a square bracket. So we have a corresponding closing square bracket. And the last one is a closing circular bracket here. So this is also a valid one. Now, the way in which we'll solve this is by using some extra space. First and foremost, we'll have a map of constant size, which is going to be which is going to hold uh, the key value pairs of these brackets, opening and closing brackets. So for each close opening bracket key, there is a corresponding closing bracket. Let me add the other ones as well. So now that we have the map, let's use another thing in memory, which is a result array. So I'll tell you why we need this array. So the other thing that we need to do is to loop over the given string. For that, we are going to use a for loop. So I've written a for loop where I'm iterating through the first character of the string to the very end. Now, what my check will have is I have a map, right? So if map of s of I, so the current one here, which is the opening one, opening bracket, if I find any opening brackets in the beginning, then I'm going to remember that I have visited an opening bracket, but I'm going to push a closing bracket, a corresponding closing bracket whenever I visit an opening bracket. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to do a result.push of uh, map of s of I. Okay. If I do not find the current character within the map, that means I have encountered a closing bracket, right? So this means I have encountered a closing bracket. Otherwise, I've encountered an opening bracket. So whenever I find an opening bracket, I'm going to push the result of that lookup, right, which is a corresponding closing bracket into the result. But if I do not encounter an opening bracket, that means I have encountered a closing bracket. In this case, what I'll check is I'm going to do a result.pop and then check if it is not equal to the current value, then I'm going to return false. And after, okay, so let's talk about this particular line here. So if we take the current example, let's take this example. Uh, Now, when we are going over this array, sorry, when we are going over the string, what what is going to happen is the pointer will be here. So I've encountered an opening bracket, right? Then I'm going to immediately push a corresponding closing bracket, and then I'm going to move one step further, and I've encountered another opening bracket. Now I'm going to push a corresponding closing bracket. Now I have encountered another opening flower bracket. I'm going to push the corresponding closing bracket. And then when I move further, I can no longer find map of s of I for this because all of my keys are opening brackets. So since I do not find this a corresponding value to this, that means I'm in the closing bracket case. Now what I'll be doing is I'm going to do a result.pop. So result is my array. When I do a pop, so it's basically considered as a stack, right? So last in, first out. So whenever I do pop, the last element of the array will come out. So that means which is a closing flower bracket. So that is equal to s of I, right? Because we are at a closing flower bracket. So since this is equal, if this is not equal, we are going to return false. If since it is equal, we have already popped it out. So it's going to go away from our array, and we are going to move to the next closing bracket. So since I've again encountered a closing bracket, I have I'm going to do a result.pop and then check if it is equal to the current s of I. It is still valid. So I'll just pop off the last character, right, from the array. And then I'm going to move to the next character and check if it is part of the map. It is not part of the map. Now what I'll be doing is I'm going to do a pop and check if it is equal to s of I, which is the case. So I'm going to pop off this element here. Once I'm done with the for loop, I'm going to return if the result.length is empty. So this is how we denote it. If the result.length means if the result array has some parameter left, then the given string is an invalid string because it doesn't have a corresponding closing bracket somewhere, right? That's the only reason why this result array would be non-empty. So we just need to return if the result is 0, then it is true. So it's a valid parenthesis string. So I think that's how we are supposed to be solving this problem. I'm going to use the same values here and put it in the actual code. So I have created a map, and then I'll create a constant. Okay, and then I'm going to use the for loop that I've already written, and then my return statement will be the same. So let's go over it. Just skim through it one more time. So we have S, okay, and then we are going through. We have a standard map with fixed size, and then we also have a result array. Whenever we are going through each and every character in the string, we are going to check it against our map. If it is there, then we are going to push the inverse, right? We are going to push the inverse of the current opening bracket. Otherwise, we are going to pop, whenever we see a closing bracket, we are going to pop it up and see if it is matching the current character within the string. And whenever we keep popping, the final result should be an empty array. Only then we can consider that it's a valid parenthesis. So let me go ahead and run this. So it did work for all the 3 test cases. Let me also add the final test case that we have used here and then run it. Okay, so Okay, the test case one also has been is working. I have just edited the first test case instead of adding a new one. So I think we are good with all the test cases. So I'll go ahead and submit it. So our solution has been accepted. So that is how we'll be solving the valid parenthesis solution using a map and an array. If you have liked this video, please subscribe to my channel. If you feel like you're learning something, yeah, give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next set of tutorials.